Friday evening, my goodness. I said to somebody on the way, is there anybody there? They said, yeah, there are a couple people, but look at that. That's very sweet. So what do we do? How do we start? I'll tell you how we'll start. I'll tell you about... I don't know why I'm so far upstate. I come to Kansas City every year. And
for equestrian shows?
Yeah. The barbecue. And the Chiefs. Although the Rams are better. I'm from Los Angeles. We didn't have a team to root for. I thought the Chiefs were great. Since I was coming to Kansas City all the time, I thought, yeah, the Chiefs are my team because Los Angeles didn't have a team. And then the Rams came back to Los Angeles and they got some really great players and we beat the Chiefs. But I come here almost every year, and my expectation is I'll be here this year in November, I think it is, for the Kansas City Royal, for the horse show. I've ridden it, I've ridden horses in it competitively for many, many years. 25, 30 years I've been coming here and watched the train station change and all the restaurants that will go around it and watch that great area for shopping and restaurants and stuff. What's it called? The Plaza thing, yeah. I can never find it. I go by the aerial, you know, the radio, or I think it's a radio, and I know that it should be on my left and behind me, and then I find it. And so I've ridden there and won a number of shows, championships. It comes a couple of months after the biggest horse show for the breed, the American Saddlebreds and Standardbreds that I'm involved in. And it comes after Louisville, the state fair in Kentucky, so that the World Championships take place in Kentucky, but other wonderful things happen in the Royal. And I've done some winning over the years. So I've had some blue ribbons and things like that in Kansas City. And I love your city. It's a great city. And I'll keep coming back and riding a horse as long as I can. So, what else? Well, this year, among many things that I was doing, I had two musical albums out there. One was a Christmas album, in which I took standard Christmas songs, I kind of changed them around a little, and had wonderful artists with me, and made a Christmas album, and the Christmas album did really well. It was on the charts. It was #2 on something. I glanced at it, and so, oh, #2, I wonder what that is. Well, the obvious what #2 is, I guess. But it wasn't that bad. So that did very well. The one that didn't do as well as I'd hoped, still out there, is a country music album called Why Not Me. So I did this Why Not Me, and I love country music. And I know Kansas City is a center for country music. I love country music, and when I was asked to do the album, I said yes. And what numbers? And Jeff Cook of Alabama was with me on this, and so a guy by the name of Brian Curl, who produced the record, said to me, well, we'll send you songs written in Nashville, and we'll send them to you, and you and Jeff pick a dozen or so songs that you want to do on the album. And so they began to send me songs written in Nashville. I remember as a kid coming from Montreal to New York City on an occasional visit. There was a building in Times Square called the Brill Building. And in the Brill Building, they had all those composers of songs of the great songs that Frank Sinatra sang, and all the standards were written, at least a good number of them, in the Brill Building. And in a summer's day, if you were in Times Square, you could hear the music coming from each office. There were composers in each office playing the piano, composing songs, and trying to sell those songs to the great performers of the day, to the vaudeville guys and the burlesque guys, and then as that gradually slowed down, to the great singers like Sinatra. They would be selling them songs in the Brill Building. And then, so for some reason or other, I don't know why, it closed out. And although the composers are long dead, the same thing has happened in Nashville. Although not in one building, they're all spread out. But there is massive talent in Nashville writing songs for country music people. Well, they sent me these songs, and I got them on my telephone, and I picked 12, and I had them in my hand. So, in effect, I was rehearsing. Instead of reading a book on my telephone, as I usually do, I was rehearsing these songs. And the songs were sung, just about every one of them was sung by the composer. So these composers would be themselves entertainers, but lightning hadn't struck them. And what they were doing was making a living selling songs, and by selling they would write them, perform them, and try and sell them. Here, Brad Paisley, here's a song, and Brad would listen, as I did. So I listened to these songs for a couple of months. I was traveling around doing things, and then I ended up in Nashville, outside of Nashville, and laid my tracks down. I knew them so well because I had rehearsed them again and again. And then I spent a week in the studio while other musicians came in and did their parts. And so this album became a thing. Why Not Me? And then one day, recently, the Grand Ole Opry called me and said, would you like to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, one of these songs? Wow. Did you say wow? You did say wow. I said wow too. What a coincidence. So it was a wow. I mean, the palace, the kingdom where the keys lie for country music is in the Grand Ole Opry. And I was asked to sing, and I went, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I'm appearing in the Grand Ole Opry, and they have a circle. I don't know whether any of you listen to the Grand Ole Opry. They have a wooden circle, which is like the touchstone, where all the great performers in the past and in the present, like, stand in the circle. It's like getting one of those things on a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I have one on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm not sure whether I'm more proud of the fact that they asked me to stand on that wooden circle and I sung this song in front of the people who know country music. I don't know that I'm more proud of that than the other. It was a happening. And they asked me to speak a little bit. Now, what I'm about to say doesn't apply here, because these are just boards put up. But I have traveled to, I mean, in Kansas City, you have some wonderful old theaters that were devoted to vaudeville and plays that would come out of New York and make the tour of the Orpheum Circuit and all. So there are old theaters here where some of the great old-time actors walked. And I'm a firm believer that we leave a trail of something. You could call it a soul, you could call it electrons, but I believe that there is our essence Our scent is left wherever we go. So when I'm on tour and I go to an old theater, I can feel, well, let me tell you how I feel. I was directing a film in California, and we were on a location search. So I needed an old building, an old decrepit building. There was some in downtown Los Angeles, and the location manager and a few of others tied to the production came with me. And we went into this old building in downtown Los Angeles. And it was filled with homeless people who had taken refuge from the cold and the weather. And they had their little cardboard pallets down there, and they slept on the cardboard with huddled up, and there were no bathrooms. So they went to the bathroom behind pillars on the floor, everywhere. Everywhere you went, there was defecation. I could feel through the soles of my feet, I could feel the ugliness. And I said, I can't shoot it, we gotta get out. And we got out. I could feel coming up through the cement to the soles of my feet how terrible this was. By the same token, I could feel the old actors treading the boards of the old theater coming up. And that's what I said at the Grand Ole Opry. I could feel the guys that we all admire, the great country singers who had sung there. I could feel their presence, and I was so honored to be there for that moment, and paid my thanks to Grand Ole Opry. That was recently, and that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing? So now, I think we're set up for questions, right? So why don't I find out what it is you want me to tell you? What interests you, and then it'll interest me, and we'll have a conversation. Is there anybody who wants to ask a question? There's a microphone right here in the center. There's a young lady in a costume, 3, 4, 5, little brunette. Step right up. That you too?
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
My name is Esther.
What?
My name was Esther.
Right in close.
Esther. My name's Esther.
Esther?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Esther.
Hi. My question is, have you ever considered being on the Discovery?
Have I ever considered what?
Have you ever considered being on the Discovery, the new Star Trek show? As like a...
have I ever considered being in this new Star Trek show? I've never seen it. No, but it's true. I don't know. Don't tell anybody, okay? Fall right into your arms after I fall. I've never seen any other Star Trek. I've seen some of the ones I've done. Not many, but I've seen. I have never seen. I mean, I'm great friends with the Next Generation cast. Great friends or buddies. They come up to my house. They've eaten at my house. I've never eaten at their house. They've always eaten at mine. I've never seen the show. Hello, Patrick. How are you? What do you do, Patrick? Well, Bill, I'm captain of the I'm the captain in Star Trek. No, Patrick. I went to dinner with Patrick with my wife, and she turned to him and said, "How can you be the captain if he's the captain?" She was more ignorant about it than I was. I've dealt with all those people. I did a documentary on the captains, called The Captains. I've never seen their show. So, and knowing, having glimpsed a little bit here and there of all these various combinations of the cast, making love to other members of the cast, Gene Roddenberry was spinning in his grave at some of the things that were going on. So I don't know what's going on in Discovery. I hear it's really good. Do you like it?
I haven't watched it.
No, right.
haven't watched it either.
Kiss the mic.
I haven't watched it either.
You haven't watched it either? Okay. Pull that microphone right down there. And right into it, so I can hear you. I got speakers that reverberate besides old age. Go ahead.
If you had to choose between riding a horse absolutely everywhere, including the bathroom, or having to tweet everything that
Wait a
you
minute,
did.
riding a horse everywhere, including to the bathroom.
Yeah, straight to the stall. Or tweeting absolutely
Wait a minute, the horse goes to the bathroom or I go? The horse goes to the bathroom. No, you mean I go to the bathroom? With the horse? This girl is sick. Did she come from Kansas City? It's such a neutral town. I didn't understand that this kind of element exists here. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So wait a minute, so now I've got me going to the bathroom with the horse. Or anything, by the way.
tweeting absolutely everything you do, including going to the bathroom.
I forgot, I can't grasp the alternative. Okay, I'm going to the bathroom with the horse. The alternative is what?
Or tweeting absolutely everything that you do.
Oh, tweeting everything that I absolutely do. Which would mean I would tweet that I've just gone to the bathroom with the horse.
Oh, man.
That is so sick. Why would you ask me a question? What revelation do you want? I can tell you this. That horses have been a part of my life ever since I could afford to own one. They're very expensive to own. And ever since I could own one, let alone the number that I do. In fact, my business manager said, don't buy anything that eats while you sleep. And I bought a lot of things and didn't sleep very much because of the horse I bought. But I've always gone to the horses and my dogs for empathy, for sympathy, for love. Whenever something terrible has happened in my life, I've gone to the horses. I've gone to the dogs. Literally. My dogs and my horses are an important part of my life. So, I mean, I would tweet, where are you going? I'm in the midst of answering your question. Just because I'm not going to tweet about going to the bathroom with the horse, you turn your back on me and leave? What's the matter with you? You needed to visit with your psychiatrist, I understand. But the horses that have offered me a life, a form of life that I never thought of as I was growing up until I got to an age where I was old enough to afford it. The horses do a number of things. First of all, on a charitable basis, I run a charity called the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I've raised millions of dollars. Only a modest sum every year, but if you do it for 30 years, it multiplies. And for children and for veterans, horse therapy is what the charity does. So, horses offer a therapeutic thing to help other people, that helps other people. Mainly, I think, for a few reasons that I can come up with. One is their size and their magnificence and their bulk gives somebody who is in jeopardy a sense of security. Somebody can't move their legs, the sense of motion when they're on their back. A sense of emotional identification because they love the horse. But the horse is also a noble animal, and its grandeur stirs you to poetry. also on their back, I feel as part of the horse, and galloping across a field or competing at the hall here in Kansas City. I'm in competition at my age. I'm running down the sidelines competing. And they offer me a peacefulness that they must have because they're prey animals. They're animals that exist between yesterday and tomorrow, but they exist in the present, because being a prey animal, they have to know where the predator is coming from, not where he came from yesterday or where it might be tomorrow, but where is it now? They live in the present, and that's the lesson that horses can teach us. With my dogs, it's life and death. My dogs, all dogs, live on an average for about 10 years. So every decade or so, you find yourself in the position of a member of the family dying. And so you're in connection with the real world that lives and dies. It's just sped up by a factor of 7, generally speaking. But life and death. And so recently, my beloved dog of 5 years, Espresso, ate some chocolate, and it's poison. Dark chocolate is a poison to a dog. And she, in 24 hours, died of a heart attack. I generally have 2 Dobermans at home to keep each other company, besides which there's twice as much to love. So the puppy that we had lost his beloved companion, teacher, and I immediately went out to the breeder that I had been using, saying, I need a puppy, but it can't be 8 weeks old, which is generally when you get a puppy. And it can't be a year old because it's fixed in its habits. I need a puppy about 6 months old. He said, I got 2. And he showed me one. I said, no, that's a little shy. He showed me the other. I said, I gotta have that puppy. And he said, I can't sell you that puppy because it's such a good puppy. I was gonna keep it. I said, you gotta sell me the puppy. He said, I can't sell it. That weekend, I was in front of 4 different theaters, about 2,000 people each, about 8,000 people. And each audience, I said, now listen, you have to write. You have to send an email or communicate with Trevor Miller in Moore Park, California, and tell him, sell that dog to Shatner. And he was inundated. And when I got home on Monday, he said, I'll send you the dog, I'll send you the dog. So I have a 6-month-old puppy and a 10-month-old puppy at home right now. And that's my life. You're good? Next question. Hi, handsome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Shatner.
Well, I know a good thing when I see one.
I wanted to ask you...
Right close to the microphone. No, raise the microphone to you. See, that's a psychological thing I just noticed with you. Instead of demanding what you need, you're willing to kind of let yourself go. Don't do that. Be proud.
Interesting.
If the
Interesting
microphone's
point,
not
though.
coming to you, you go to the microphone.
Seize it. Seize it's what you're saying.
There you go. Closer to the microphone.
Even better.
A little closer.
Even
a little closer.
Even better.
Now, what's your name?
Alex.
Alex. It's good to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
Have you got friends over there?
No.
I think
Now I do.
I think they're jeering you.
They can jeer all they want.
It's gerrymander. Gerrymander. What's not bad? Now come on. We sectioned off that audience as a gerrymander.
We may have to read this.
There's a joke there somewhere, but I can't get it.
I wanted to ask, over the course of your career, who is your favorite person to work with? And I mean like an actor, a fellow thespian, maybe a producer. who did you work with that you were like, this is wonderful, and I wish this kind of partnership would go on forever?
Well, you just working with somebody is really nice, but going on forever? I mean, that's a whole other set of criteria. I tell you, Henry Winkler's here at the show. So I don't know whether y'all saw Better Late Than Never. But Henry and I mean, we make each other laugh, and apparently make some of you laugh. And we had a great time. We went to Asia the first year, and then we went to Europe and Scandinavia in the second year, and we're waiting. They keep saying, you know, they're going to pick it up, they're going to pick it up. They haven't picked it up yet as a third year. And so Henry and Terry Bradshaw, who is turned out to be like a great, in the best sense of the word, a great clown. He's a four-time Super Bowl winner. I've seen some footage, like, now that I know him rather well, now I see footage of him lean and tall and blonde and throwing the ball and winning the 4 rings. And we're all aged and look and act differently. But Terry was this god in football. He was like Terry Bradshaw. Terry told me, I mean, how tough he was. How tough it would be to win 4 Super Bowl rings in that tough league. He told me a story of an opposing linebacker who went to tackle him, like had him in his arms, picked him up, and the whistle blew to stop the play. And the linebacker, in those days, there weren't that many rules, slung him around and pile drived him into the ground head first. Snapped something in his neck. Terry's lying on the ground, and he can't move his arms and legs. And they get a cart to bring him out, and he's told me later he was weeping. He thought he was paraplegic. Well, it must have been bruised. The blood dissipated, feeling came back. By Tuesday or Wednesday, he was getting around. The following Sunday, he was in the game. Do you understand what courage, what bravery that is? Terry Bradshaw. So we're in Scandinavia. And then about 1% of the Scandinavians love fermented cod.
Oh my God.
You're angering over there.
It's more than 1%.
It's more than 1%?
Oh yeah, my mom would bring that stuff back from Sweden, and
Are you serious?
100%.
Are you making that up?
No, sir.
So you know how it smells?
It's vile.
No, not vile. Not vile, man.
Our dog.
I played a cop for 5 years. I got to know